like the intimacy? I don't know who I'm looking at. I don't know where to look on this. But if I do a live stream, I promise it won't look like this. But it's kind of pissed me off tonight with Steve G. First of all, he tells us, and that would be me and you and everyone who doesn't believe the narrative of this ridiculous prosecution. He calls all the pro-burgers, he says that we're all cokehead losers. Thanks, Steve. By the way, Stevie, during your first hour of the interview, I think I was looking right at a cokehead loser. And I've never done coke, and I'm not a loser, but I know some. Anyway. BK is going to be... Steve thinks everybody's a moron. And, At one point, Steve does unknowingly reference me, because way back in the day, 2.5 years ago, I was the first damn person, and I know I was the first person who speculated Kohberger is going to be acquitted and he will be on his first book tour in 2027. Anyone who's been watching me that long would remember this. But of course, the waves of the 2.5 years and the Idaho detectives, somehow this got back to Steve, because Steve claims that if BK starts writing books, I guess while incarcerated, Steve says, we'll take every cent. No, Steve, you won't take any cents. But thanks. You're welcome. Anyway, I did say that. Side note. You know when I always complain about the other TikTok, YouTube, Idaho detectives, they're just like, you're getting pissed off right now, right? Thank you. Anyway, he says of Ann Taylor, Steve says Ann is desperate. He says that Ann has been begging Kohberger for an alibi. That's more inside info. Who is giving Steve this info? Steve, you are really blowing it for the prosecution. I have a note. He threatens the entire world. Linda Lane. Okay, so the interviewer is smart enough at least to bait Steve into talking about the Linda Lane video audio. And Steve, he sure talks about it. Steve says yes, he has heard, I think he says he's heard that guy Farley's voice on the audio. I never heard somebody mentioning Farley's voice on the audio. But Steve says he's not really familiar with Farley. He says Farley is sitting in jail right now or some shit. Sure, you're not familiar with Farley, Steve. You just let the cat out of the bag. Wow. Steve also asks, why are there no stargazing apps on Brian's phone? He says, have they checked? Oh, I don't think they have. I'll get to that. I'm really pissed off about something. Not now. You see my mood just changed? You'll see why. You'll see why. Wow. What else? Steve says, speaking of Dylan again, Steve says, statistically, hold on. Okay. He says, statistically, there's not that many white guys who are lean in Moscow, Idaho. Ouch, Moscow. Yeah, so he says it's got to be Brian because there's not that many white lean guys in Moscow, referencing Dylan. Wow. Oh, why does the interviewer not ask Steve during an hour, 40-minute interview? He doesn't say, Steve, remember when you said, why did they have to go upstairs? What's with that? He was probably told by Steve, don't ask. And, yeah. I may have mentioned this, but Steve insists that BK went to the residence at 9 a.m. the next morning. Steve, it's been debunked. Steve doesn't care. He's getting his info from 2022, but we're all cokehead losers. Yeah, fuck this. So, this is the part that really pissed me off. It was devastating. I had to watch it again, but I knew what Steve said. And I know he's anxious. I know he's still hurting over his daughter. But why did Steve have to say, Steve says, quote, "Why did my daughter have to be killed by such a loser like BK?" As if he would be more happy if his daughter were murdered by a real man, huh, Steve? Real man just like you kills your daughter. Maybe a UFC guy, Steve. Maybe a Marine with a big knife who isn't around to talk about it.